the Flash number 23, which was a Flash Hal Jordan team up issue. It's also Barry's birthday. There's a surprise party. Hal shows up in shenanigans ensue, and I kind of like where this is going. Where this is kind of setting up and leading to.
Yeah.
Fantastic issue. I always forget with the, they were the brave and the bold kind of first, Barry and Hal, and then they were gone forever, and now it's fun to see them, because we didn't get too much of them in Johns' runs on things. He was focused elsewhere. Like, we did get Barry as a Blue Lantern at one point, but outside of that, they really didn't interact. So him showing up to Barry's birthday, with a present,
nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw people
that Barry had given him.
Yeah, I saw people on
funny.
Twitter this week saying, "Oh, we should get a Flash and Green Lantern permanent book," and I'm like, "Yeah, call it Brave and the Bold, sure, just give it. Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah. I will say also just the opening page. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like this story."
Yeah, well, yeah,
this is going to be interesting.
Let's talk about the opening page because we start with a little teaser in the 25th century in the Flash Museum. And there's an unknown voice talking about Thawne and who he is in Reverse Flash. But then it gets really interesting at the bottom of the page because we see next to a Flash statue of Barry, there's a Reverse Flash statue, and it says that Eobard Thawne was a partner, an ally, and his best friend. What has he done to the timeline? What the hell has Thawne done? Because no.
Yeah.
But no, that did pique my interest. It was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
And of course, we see Thawne's body, because it obviously he died in the button. And we see this spark of Speed Force in his eye. And it's like, oh, right, okay, that didn't last long. He's coming back.
Well, like he says, he's the one constant.
Yeah. So
If that's the case, is he unkillable now? Because if he looked up at the face of God, and the Speed Force, does what it does, how do you get rid of Thawne?
That's a good point. Well, because obviously Multiplex shows up, and that's what Barry and Hal go off to fight during the issue. That's kind of the main fun. But when he's at the party, Barry has this, because he's thinking about Iris and should he tell Iris who he is. Right. New Wally's really pissed at him for everything. And we have this fantastic nightmare scene of Reverse Flash coming in and killing everyone that Barry cares about. Killing Iris, killing New Wally, all the rest of it. And I love how red the pages are, and then you turn the page, and then Barry's standing in what looks like just this pool of blood with the dead bodies. Yeah. It's like super dark. I love it. The art's great here.
It's so horrific. And then it cuts back to normal in the panel next, and it's all the greens, and it's such a drastic change.
Yeah, it's a little mini golf course they're on. They're playing mini golf. I don't think that's important. I'm just pointing out that people play mini golf.
It wasn't important, no. But maybe Barry likes mini golf.
Maybe he does.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an eye.
Actually, who doesn't like mini golf?
Mini golf's
you can't speed. You can't speed through mini golf because I've tried. You just can't. It is a game that tests my patience.
So Iris is obviously feeling that he might be withholding something, and that's kind of setting up the themes of the issue. All this teasing, what if Thawne did want to do all this bad stuff? It's setting up that fear. Obviously, some of the pages of Barry and Hal teaming up, that double page spread, you see in the previous pages, both the rings. The suit comes out the ring. Hal's getting his ring ready, and then that double page spread of the two of them in costume. Oh, it's glorious
so
stuff.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah, as a long-time fan of these characters, it's just great stuff to see. So obviously they race off and they go and start to deal with everything. So, and obviously Multiplex gets really powerful, and there's a swarm of them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love how insane Multiplex is, because this is a character that I haven't seen too much. I remember him Johns' run, but he wasn't a major villain. He was someone Wally took out real quick. But him becoming a swarm of himself because this girl turned him down, or so he thinks in his head.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, dude's got problems. I love it.
Yeah, do you know the thing about Multiplex is I'd just kind of forgotten it existed, and then he showed up in the show, and I'm like, oh yeah, he was a thing. I'd forgotten about him. But that's just fun. I feel like you could do a lot with Multiplex if you wanted to. It's a really fun power.
Well, that's what makes him a good Flash villain, is that for as fast as Barry can go, this guy just needs to make him multiples of himself. So it works hand in hand real well.
Yeah, I like how the art's called Color of Fear, because obviously Reverse Flash is yellow, and it's not actually a Green Lantern story, but it kind of It works.
doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it just kind of ties into it nicely. So New Wally takes Iris home at the end, and he's basically about to tell her about his father / uncle, who's a Reverse Flash, because she didn't know about that. And I love how as they go in, and we get the reveal that Thawne's sitting in their house waiting for them, and he's like, "Oh please, there's only one Reverse Flash." It's a glorious cliffhanger. I love this issue. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting. I feel like Williamson has been slowly building to really hitting his stride as a Flash writer. Like he's really starting to hit all the kind of stories we want. Like we got a Rogue story, and that was fun, and now we're getting to like some proper Thawne stuff. It's like, oh, it's great.
Well, and starting with the new villain, right? With Godspeed.
Yeah.
To the Rogues and all that. Like he's slowly
like
building up to the bigger threats.
You had the Godspeed costume in the museum on the first page. I mean, there's a lot of costumes.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You also had Nina's costume. The black hole one was there too.
Yeah.
Which is right. We've still got her at play.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, that Puppet Flash. It looks like Dr. Alchemy's there, and I only recognize that because of the show. Like I feel like that's the only reason that one was there, so prominent.
Probably.
Gentleman Ghost.
Yeah. What's the bet? We'll get a Thinker plot at some point in the near future.
Right?
It's that'll be one of those things that feels like it could be editorial mandated, but I'm sure even if it is, it'll still be a good story.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
got time.
Yeah.
I just noticed right next to the Reverse Flash costume, it's one of the lightning rods that was in the JSA story that brought Wally back. That also
on the left of it, yeah, you're right.
Interesting. Also, I want to point out about this last page when they go in the house and Thawne's sitting there. Again, it plays with the colours in the art. The house is very blue, and there's no real reason why it should be blue, but it accents his yellow very well.
It does.
It's like the room's very cold, and then he's this yellow, and obviously that's meant to be warm, but here it's signalling more danger because he's Thawne.
Yeah,
he's a villain. So no, I like it.
He's got that red outline too. Like he's
the red lightning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just gives you this idea that he's entered a comfortable place. He's not meant to be here. This is a place of comfort and homeliness and stuff.
What kind of monster sits like that on a couch?
Someone who wants to show off their cock.
Yeah, basically.
That is basically going, hey, check out the bulge.
Check it. Check it. No cod piece needed.
Maybe she'll test it and try and kick him in a minute.
I'm really excited for this story. Just go like, how do we get to where that first page was, and how does Thawne take that? Like, is it something that he's chosen to make it like that, or is this an accidental byproduct?
Yeah, and then even like, how do we factor in Hal being there to help fight Thawne? Like, how does that work? Like him against an evil speedster? Because we had Batman versus Thawne in the Button, and that was like really exciting.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. But you'd think that the Power Ring offers a little bit more defense against.
Yeah, you'd assume so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you would think that he could at least shield himself technically, and maybe Thawne will try and phase through it. And what sort of results does that bring? Because it's it's not a real thing. It's green power and energy.
All this also makes me really worried about Iris, because between Wally and Barry.
No, we're going to save Iris. Don't you worry, Matt.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, but I know the Flash history, so it's a little bit worrisome.
It's not about tragedy, Matt. Flash is not about tragedy.
I know.